So I think this chapter was balanced pretty nicely. We got to obviously see both groups, and certainly just that sense of adventure and kind of that Indiana Jones or Tomb Raider-like feel is definitely present. One Piece, Chapter 245, Adventure on God's Island. Well, hello, my brothers and sisters of the Nerd Nation. I, as always, am Jim, here to bring you another review on the awesome and godly tale of One Piece. Our last chapter saw us with things kind of moving forward, and of course the revelation at the end being that Gonfall is obviously a god or a former god, something of that nature, and then that just kind of left us hanging there, right? So Luffy and Usopp and Sanji set off on the waiver boat, and were kind of given some directions on how to get to the upper yard area, and to to hopefully do these challenges or trials or whatever they need to do to save their friends. So that's where things leave off, and that's where things pick up with Luffy and company sailing down one of these milky roads. They're talking about, Luffy's talking about the speed of the boat being very slow, and, and Usopp's like, listen, whatever, or maybe it's Sanji, it doesn't go any faster, so just get it out of your head, So as they go and they're kind of coming over this milky road, they go and they see this huge forest in front of them, and they ask if it's on the map, And Usopp says, there's a forest on the map, but it doesn't look like this one, and then they explain that even if the map was 200 years old, it may have been much older than that. And Usopp's like, yeah, but it would take thousands of years, at least 1,000 years, for trees to grow this big into a forest. So anyway, regardless of all that, they go sailing down into it. And as they approach it, it really reminds me of something out of like a Tomb Raider video game, or like an Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade type deal. They show there's these cool looking, like, there's these torches, and the torches, though, these torches are mounted on top of like a skull. Looks like a bull with the horns and everything like that, something along those lines. And then there's like a shield and spears crossed over it and everything. And these are the kind of like bordering the entrance to it, And it's funny because as they go down, Luffy says, okay, well, it's our last chance to turn back if you want to now, Usopp. And Usopp's like, I would like to go home. And Luffy goes, okay, we're going forward. And he's like, why'd you even give me a choice, So anyway, so they say something about, oh yeah, that's just because we're on this river, And then they goes and he sees a bunch of wrecks of ships all around, And he says, there's wrecks of ships everywhere, And Luffy goes, yeah, well, that's just, you see that type of stuff on this river, on the river. Something along those lines, and just that single-mindedness, I just love, It's really grown on me. So as they go and start going further down this river, all of a sudden, I don't know if he just sensed something or he heard something, but we see kind of a shot from up on an angle, and we see that they've sprung some kind of trap. And this is why it reminded me of like an Indiana Jones or a Tomb Raider, because they trigger, going down this river, this giant sickle to come swinging down, and paddle faster, because the waver itself goes at a certain speed, but obviously you can make it go a little faster if you start paddling. So they're going crazy paddling, and Luffy's like, at first is clueless. He's like, what the hell's going on, right? And then when the thing comes out, he's like, oh, a sickle monster, because on the sickle there's actually like a painted monster face, almost kind of like a tiki mask or something, it looks like. So then they realize that it's not just one sickle, it's a whole array of sickles. So they're paddling like hell to get through these things, and they're coming, and they're trying to go like crazy, and then they get to, to where the final one is, and it's going to come crashing down into him, And Luffy's like, no, wait, hold on, Usopp, switch with me, And they switch spots, and he goes, gum, And Usopp's like, what are you going to do? And he's like, bazooka, and he just, boom, is able to get them past it and get them to safety. So it's pretty cool. Like I said, just the whole sense of adventure, is very fun in my opinion. So they wind up then also seeing this giant worm, it looks like a snake, that kind of comes down out of the trees, because then they're debating whether they should get out and try to walk, or whether they should continue on the path, or what, right? And they wind up seeing this huge snake, this they call it a sky lamprey, and which they obviously have in the ocean and stuff. Sanji explains about that. But then what they wind up coming upon over here, and this is after this whole ordeal, is they wind up coming upon this giant statue with these looks like 4 tunnels, 4 options that they have. And as they approach them, they've got the challenge of the ball, challenge of the string, challenge of the iron, challenge of the swamp. Now, I don't know if these have to do with the 4 priests of the god Enel. I'm not really quite sure at this point, but but basically, it's just like, what is this god playing games with us? So that's the first half of the chapter. The second half of the chapter actually winds up taking place. It takes us to the actual sacrificial altar where Zoro and Robin and Nami and Chopper have kind of been dropped off by that sky lobster, that lobster express, and they're actually on top of this altar. And it starts out though with Zoro, and he is actually like in the mouth of a sky shark. He's got his foot down in the bottom of his jaw, and he's got his swords crossed, and it looks as if he gets swallowed, you know. So then they're all sitting on the boat, and it's funny because Nami's like, "Oh my God, did he get eaten?" And Chopper's like, "Oh my God, Zoro got eaten." And then Robin goes, "No, the clouds would be all red. You know, the cloudy river would be all red if he did." And they're like, "That's not a nice thing to say." And all of a sudden, Zoro comes busting out of the thing, you know. And they wind up making mention of how, you know, he punched it. He just punched it once, and it and knocked it out. And Chopper's like, "Yeah, Zoro's strong, you know." So they decide that the hull of the ship is damaged. They also decide. Zoro says, "Listen, the logical thing is that Luffy and the gang, Luffy, Sanji, and Usopp, are going to come looking for us. Okay, the ship is not seaworthy. We can, even if we get it off of this altar right now, it doesn't matter because the hull is damaged." So he puts Chopper in charge of fixing the hull, and Chopper's like, "What? Who, me?" You know. So then Zoro's like, "Yeah, so I'm gonna go and basically we're gonna stay put here." And then Nami's like, "What do you mean you're gonna stay put? Well, where are you going then?" You know. And he goes, well, "I'm gonna go talk to this god, you know." And she's like, "What do you mean you're going to go talk to this god? What are you going to say to him?" And he's like, "Well, I guess it depends on what type of mood he's in, you know, or what type of attitude he takes with me." So fucking Zoro, you know, he doesn't care. And so she's like, "But you don't understand this and that." And he's like, "Listen," he goes, "it's not my god. It's not a god I pray to. So, you know, I don't really care. You know, I don't care what this person is calling himself or what have you. I don't believe in him or pray to him, so fuck him." You know, that's kind of the attitude Zoro has, which I can kind of respect. You know, he's just that much of a badass. So anyway, Robin says, "I'm going to come with you as well, if that's all right." And he says, "Yeah, sure, you know." So I'm thinking, okay, that's cool. We get to see Robin, obviously, in action and add a little bit to the crew. And then Nami's like, what the hell? You know, they're basically like, why do you want to go somewhere? And she's like, seeing all this stuff, this altar, and all these things that are hundreds and thousands of years old. She's an archaeologist. This is, this is her place, man. I mean, this is what she wants. This is her thing. So Zoro's going to go and he's going to swing across this tree branch. And then Nami goes and says, "Oh, that's what it is." And she goes, "And maybe I'll find some." And Robin's talking about what she may find. And she's like, "I may find some ancient treasure and this and that." And then all of a sudden Nami's just like, "Oh, I'm going to go with, for the, the history and all that stuff and everything." And her eyes are actually drawn as berry symbols, So they're going to leave Chopper alone. They're going to swing across on this vine, and they're way up in the air. I don't know. I think Zoro said it was like a 150-foot drop or something like that. But Zoro goes swinging across. It's like 1, 2, and then you just see him do like a Tarzan. He's like, "Oh!" as he goes swinging across this ravine to get off of this, where they're placed on top of this altar to get off into the woods, the forest. And then obviously not Robin must have come across, or maybe she went first. I don't know. But then Nami's going and coming across, and he's like, "Wait, you're going too fast." And Nami about bites it, and she almost loses it. And luckily Robin's there to extend out her arms on top of arms type of thing and is able to grab her, and pull her in. So all in all, very fun chapter. Things end up, though, with it going back to Chopper, right? And Chopper's just like, "Okay, well, it's a really big job. They put me in charge of fixing the ship and guarding the ship because they said he's got to guard the ship, and they must really trust me in this and that." And then he's just like, "Wait," and all of a sudden the fear starts to set in, and he's like, "Wait, but I'm all alone." He's like, "Hold on a second, I'm all alone. What the hell?" So that's where the chapter leaves off, and definitely like a kind of a fun one in my opinion. So my chapter question, though, is, what are your thoughts thus far on, I kind of like the whole feel. I like the feel of it. I like the feel of like this ancient runes type of deal. But what are your thoughts on the kind of the feel so far of this whole upper yard area? These 4 trials and this sacrificial altar and just kind of the ambiance of everything that's going on. Because to me, the location is just as important as the story. And I think the location is really cool, at least at this point. So leave your answer to my question in the comments down below. Feel free to hit the thumbs up, the like button if you should think that I deserve it, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. We look forward to catching all of you in the next one, nation. My man, Zoro, punching a sky shark, and then he gonna go tell God what's up.